that's where it is. And what it looks like today is the last slide, and that is the Morris Marks house, historic house. One might wonder how come that house is sitting on the property when we haven't sold it. There's an interesting tale here. In 2016, Mayor Hales and the Parks Bureau, who at the time thought they owned the property, made arrangements to save the Marks house because there was going to be big construction projects at PSU and it would be gone. So non-top, Karen Carlson and Rick Michelson undertook to find a place for this historic property and get it moved, and the Parks Bureau got it all lined up. And in winding our way through all the documents, we find that the property had a checkered history. It was bought by the Water Bureau way back when, 2 centuries ago, 2nd century ago. It was set up to be sold to the Parks Bureau twice in the 1920s, and the bill was never paid, so the property ended up remaining on the Water Bureau's rolls. Eventually, an ordinance was passed that allowed the Parks Bureau to operate more apart. The ownership remained with the Water Bureau, and it was buried in the language, and nobody saw it. So at the end of 2017, right after the new mayor, we picked that project up. Parks Bureau had done a lot of great work to save this historic house. We basically picked up from there and organized to work with Karen and Rick to get this property moved. These processes take quite some time, as you can imagine. There's lots of title research and so on. We couldn't get all the documents done in time to allow the house to move, because PSU had a large construction project underway to do some renovation and build a new building. So we worked with the PSU Facilities Department, and they helped us out. And our way to handle that was we did all the internal workings that you need to do to dispose of property internally. There's an administrative rule that allows us to not advertise the property publicly if it's in the public interest. We felt this was in the public interest. We have the backing of our commissioner, obviously, and the city attorney's office in that, and we decided to use a market report from an appraiser and the tax roll price, $180,000, to sell the property. Because the building had to be moved before we could complete all of this, we executed a lease with non-top that protects both them and the city. And so right now the Marks house is sitting on the property by lease. And in accordance with this ordinance, we have about 30 days to finish the final details and file title and so on. There's 3 or 4 easement and dedication documents that will be included in the title and the final documents. These documents are prepared, and what we're asking to do is to allow us to finalize that sale. The sale price is $180,000, and the form is going to be roughly what you see in the sale documents. Any questions I can answer?
Mike, let me just add one other historical footnote. I found a book on historic structures of Portland, and I learned that the Morris Marks house has moved at least twice. And each time it's moved, the building has been sawed in half and then relocated. And for this building to be relocated, because of the distance it had to travel and some of the restrictions along the way, it was also sawed in half for a second time and then reassembled. I think there's a total of somewhere around 14 bedrooms in this house, and it has a very distinguished pedigree. This will be the home, I believe, going forward of the Portland Parks Foundation. Really? In part, I believe that's one of the goals that Rick Michelson has set, along with some other nonprofits. Actually, I think that's been extensively discussed with the Parks Bureau. That was what the original vision was when it came to the Parks Bureau. And you were actually handling the transaction commissioner.
Someone who really loves old buildings and saving old buildings. This is a very cool building. We're doing this in the public interest. The property has basically been sitting there. It's in kind of an awkward spot, and it's not very big. 4,700 square feet. It's not very big.
But Mike, the
One
other,
of the things that we were careful to do is we coordinated with the neighborhood association, the downtown association, and both supported this activity.
just to be clear, the parties that wanted to make this happen covered all the costs of transporting the house. And we've determined that 180,000 is a reasonable value for the piece of dirt that this has been located to, correct?
Correct. It's based on an appraisal and the tax value.
And we are going to retain a number of easements because of things that are happening underneath that.
Yes, the easement documents are all prepared and they'll be filed. We have an easement and a dedication for PBOT. We have an easement for BES, who has a sewer line in the vicinity, and we always have a water line there. So we'll make sure we protect the city's interest in this.
It also connects the Green Loop, it's Green Loop easement for PBOT as well.
Any other questions?
Beat me to the punch. Very good. Call the testimony, please.
Yes, there's one person signed up, Joe Walsh.
Coming up, sir.
Good morning. My name is Joe Walsh. I represent the Individuals for Justice. And I'm a frequent flyer. One of the things that we were whispering about over there was we didn't have a clue what you were talking about because you were referring to slides that didn't exist. You had them on your document. We don't have them. People at home don't have them. There's nothing up on the board. This was one report or item that was totally ill-prepared. Even Commissioner Fritz was taken by surprise by a statement in it. You can vote on this, but I just want to tell you something. That when I go home and I talk to Patty, she watches this on television. And I know she's going to say to me today, what in God's name are they talking about? Where are the slides? They kept referring to slides and it slid that away.
Can I respond, Joe?
But
Can I respond?
I don't know, you have to ask the presiding official, that's usually the way it works.
I agree with you. The slides should have been part of a PowerPoint, and that's on me.
No, it's not.
It is. I reviewed it.
You can cover for your staff, but usually I defend staff also. I like staff. Okay?
We should
This
put it
was
in
a
our-
sloppy presentation, I'm sorry.
You should have put it in a PowerPoint. And to your earlier comment, just remember, this was originally a Parks Bureau project. All the details were worked out with the Parks Bureau. What changed at the 11th hour was that we learned that it was actually a piece of property owned by the Water Bureau, not the Parks Bureau.
Okay, now we're getting into the thing that we got into last week about formalizing. You know, that doesn't happen. They're asking for permission to do something, and you're going to give it to them. However, I'm just pointing out, as a citizen and a frequent flyer, that you confused us. And if you confuse us that are sitting over there and whispered, and everybody would think, where are these slides? What are you talking about? You confused everybody that's watching it. And that's sloppy. And if you want to take the credit for that, I think that's nice, but it's not accurate. Staff screwed up on this one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, my name is Lightning, I represent Lightning Super Watchdog X. I do agree, I don't think there's been enough information provided. The statement of slides, nothing again was provided to the public, so to make that statement and not provide that to the public in a public forum such as we're in.
Lightning, can I just respond to that? Absolutely. You'll recall, and I know that we have a lot of stuff on our agenda, we've actually had a full public hearing on this previously. Today is the final action, but we had a whole public hearing with the history of the site, the decision to relocate the building, all the details, all the historical documents. So that was already done. What we're doing today is the final act, which is authorizing this position. But I want you to know there was a full hearing. It's on me, and I thought that that was sufficient. We should have gone back and reminded people of what we'd already put in the record. And we'd be happy to provide you with a link to the full public hearing we had at council on this project.
Okay, thank you for your position there, but my position is that we have an ordinance in front of us as the public at a council meeting in City Hall to have our input on this. And this ordinance is about to declare city property, and you will vote on that. And you're asking us to either agree.
Just to be clear, and again, I apologize for the confusion.
Okay.
It's already been declared surplus. It's already been approved by council for this purpose. What we're doing now is executing the various legal documents, including a lease agreement.
Okay, but if I'm reading this ordinance, and I'll read this again, authorize council to declare city property located on Southwest Broadway and Southwest Grand as surplus and authorize its disposition by this ordinance that is in front of me as the public. And I'm saying I haven't seen the pictures that was stated, the slides. That is my position. Now, if I'm reading this ordinance incorrectly, which I don't believe I am, as the public, what's in front of me, then by all means let me know. Now, moving along a little bit farther on this, again, one of my concerns is there a closing date that was stipulated? I don't believe there's any closing date stated on this. Another issue I have, was there a broker involved on the value that was stated? Who does the broker represent? Is it dual agency, single agency? Is there a broker receiving a commission on this? It's very important to me to understand who are they representing. Another issue I have, it was stated that there might be currently a water tank on the property. Again, I didn't see the slides.
Once upon a time, it was a reservoir. There's no longer.
There's nothing there. Okay,
We have pipes underneath the property, but it's no longer a reservoir.
okay, so there's no tank on the property, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that's one of the things I wanted to have clarified on this at this meeting, if there was any historic significance to that particular tank in the history of it, to have it remain there. Again, my main concern is to make sure we receive the proper value for the property. Again, you've stated in this agreement on the lease itself that the lease payments would be reverted back to the overall price itself in the agreement. Now, I disagree with that. If you're receiving a lease payment on the property, that should be retained by, quote, the seller, and not be taken back to the original sales price. Now, maybe I'm reading this agreement incorrect, but it's my understanding you're saying the lease payments will be applied back to the sale price. Again, what's the point of doing a lease if you're not going to receive that income for your time until they close on the property? They don't own this property as of today. They will not own this property. And again, that's why I've asked, when is this property going to actually close? And that's very important to me on the lease payments and where that money ends up going. Is there an actual closing date on this property?
Yes. So, well, you can finish the question.
Yeah, if you can answer that.
So, Lightning, there's Exhibit A to the ordinance, which is in the public record.
Yeah.
And page 2 has the closing date, which is 30 days from the date all the conditions have been satisfied. So it's a normal closing process. It has a deposit, balance due, and then it has all the contingencies that have been worked out. That's in the document that the council today is approving. And it specifically says at the top of page 2, under subparagraph 2, closing date, it sets the time for the closing date.
What time is that?
It's 30 days from the date all condition precedents have been satisfied or waived.
Okay, if I might add on that, if all conditions aren't satisfied, are we going to also expect them to pay additional amount of money to extend this time?
Last is good.
Okay, so I want it closed, you've stated in 30 days, I want it closed in 30 days, all cash funded at that time. But
No, this has been consistently something you've raised at council about leases and payments, so I appreciate it. And whatever I can't get you an answer today, we'll send you an email with the answers.
okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Put it on the table and when we bring staff up, we can.
They should vote on it.
Ask them. Just put the question on the table and then when we bring staff up, we can ask you the question. Go ahead.
Please.
Okay. Commissioner Fish, I'm just curious. Sorry, this is, my name's Mimi German. Regarding process, it's just a process question.
Right.
So today was for a vote, right? Okay,
Hmm.
so why is there a presentation then when there's a vote if it's already been discussed in the past? Like today seemed like a true presentation where you guys received quote unquote slides and there was more information that was brought out.
Let me immediately answer the question.
Yeah,
So, no good deed goes unpunished. I haven't been here the last 3 days. There's something else I have to attend to. When I saw the presentation, I said I thought my colleagues would enjoy seeing a photograph of what the historic use of that site was.